Shut up. Listen, I love Halle Berry. I do. She was my first Bond girl. My favorite Bond girl. And I never really cared about X-Men or Catwoman, but I cared about Storm and Patience Phillips. You may have never seen Gothika, but I know you've seen this cover. It's kind of iconic in my opinion. This movie made $100 million. Profit. It was a pretty big deal. And I say all that to say that it was actually ranked number 2 in the box office its opening weekend, behind The Cat in the Hat. The better movie. So I've got some leaks around the house and some renovations that I've been procrastinating on. I've also got bats, but that's unrelated. I need to start saving some money. And thankfully, today's sponsor is Rocket Money, your all-in-one personal finance platform that helps you save more and spend less. I have subscriptions to a lot of garbage. Worse than that, I forget that I have subscriptions to a lot of garbage. Rocket Money was able to identify all those recurring charges for me and even better, cancel those subscriptions for me. Apparently I was getting fleeced $25 a month from some children's math app. Oh, okay. Thanks, Rocket Money. You can monitor your credit score, and Rocket Money can actually negotiate your bills for you. All you gotta do is upload a photo, tap a button, and let their experts do the work. I actually just sent their A-team to talk to my internet service provider, because I shouldn't be paying this much for internet that doesn't work. So download Rocket Money and unlock more features with premium. Just go to rocketmoney.com/MrGG, or just click the link in the video description. That is rocketmoney.com/MrGG, and thank you, Rocket Money, for sponsoring this video. Okay, yes, the Cat in the Hat thing. I would, but that's not the point. Okay, it's a long story. Let's talk about Gothika. This movie's a bit of a mess. There are these supernatural events that are happening that are just as bizarre as the real world events that are happening. But the movie being contrived as shit is a pretty common take by critics. I have a very different problem with it. It's just boring. I like to look at Halle Berry. So, Halle Berry walking around? Sure. Halle Berry looking around? Sign me up. But at one point you have to ask yourself, am I some fucking dark web pervert, or am I just trying to watch a movie? Now, it's very possible, in fact, likely, that you like Gothika, and you're not gonna like anything I have to say in this video. And truthfully, I don't blame you. Dark Castle's entertainment lineup all give me very similar feelings. 13 Ghosts, Ghost Ship, House of Wax. I mean, Dark Castle's first 5 movies were all movies that stuck out to me as a child. Kind of defined psychological horror for me a lot of the time. But as I've slowly started to unintentionally revisit these movies, I just keep thinking that they all had this ceiling that they all fell short of, some more than others. Like, I love 13 Ghosts, but the flaws in that movie hurt me, genuinely. The only one I actually can't speak on is House on Haunted Hill, because I haven't seen that movie in like 2+ decades, so maybe that one's great. Now, on the surface, Gothika is a murder mystery with supernatural elements. Will you fuck off, Exorcist 3? But it's meant to tell a deeper story than that. Halle Berry is Dr. Miranda Gray, a psychiatrist working in a penitentiary. One night, driving home, she sees a ghostly, battered woman in the middle of the street, and after she is set ablaze, Miranda wakes up in that very same institution, but this time as an inmate, not knowing how she got there or why. Starring alongside Halle Berry is Robert Downey Jr., who might as well be Nathaniel Mudson. Who? Exactly. This script is rough. This could have been Meryl Streep and DiCaprio. Wouldn't have mattered. The movie starts with Miranda talking to Penelope Cruz about her abuse. Penelope says a bunch of intense things, and Miranda just kind of jots some fun little notes down. Subject is erratic. Pick up bread on way home. But who cares about on-the-nose dialogue that will be referenced multiple times throughout the movie when Halle Berry is on sport mode, baby? That Fitbit's gonna overheat. I love this intro. It does not hide what this movie's gonna be. This is my fault. This is Dr. Doug Gray. He runs this joint, and he's also Miranda's husband. Miranda's baffled at the way Penelope is and the things she says. It just doesn't read by the books. But Doug is a wise, wise man. A wise man with wisdom. Wisdom that is wise.
Throw it on the mirror. This is what she sees now.
A distorted image of herself.
Who are you in all this?
I'm the mirror.
You are the mirror.
I'm the mirror. You are the mirror. Throw it at the mirror. Oh my god, it's pouring underneath the cabinet? No. Oh, it is. Oh my God, it's pouring everywhere. Fuck. Doug then congratulates himself on such a, what's the opposite of effective? Metaphor by swallowing Miranda whole. Tony Stark, played by Tony Stark. He's another doctor here and he wants to bang Halle Berry. What range, Robert? I too am a method actor. So a few things you need to know because it's gonna all be reincorporated. The institution's way of dealing with patients is just upping their meds and they don't listen to anything they have to say. The power sometimes goes out here. Miranda's an excellent swimmer. This is a guard she's friendly with. Also, does anybody remember Hurricane Chris? I remember 2 of his songs. Hey Baby and the other one. Halle Berry, Halle Berry. Miranda's heading home when she's forced to take a detour because there's a sinkhole in this very street. The sheriff steps in to tell her where to go because he knows her. He's good friends with Doug. Miranda calls Doug on a fuzzy call. He's working at another location right now. But that's when she sees a woman standing in the middle of the road. She freaks out and loses control of the vehicle. Are you okay? I don't mean to be a negative Nancy, but Miranda's dead, right? Like the movie should be over? I mean, sure, she can live, but she waltzes out seconds after. Maybe she's running on adrenaline? Her potential injuries are never mentioned again. The ghostly woman goes flame on and grabs Miranda. That's when she wakes up in a cell. And I don't like this scene, and I feel bad saying that because Halle tries. Miranda's obviously confused and pissed. Tony Stark pulls up on his mobster shit, and it's just weird. Miranda's been there 3 days. She was seizing violently and a bunch of other mumbo jumbo. They start reciting psychiatric lore to each other because, oh man, isn't this ironic? He tells her to remember what happened, and she recounts everything. She brings up the girl, but Tony ignores that shit because he wants to know about Doug. Because Doug's dead, and Miranda killed him. She reasonably freaks out, and I don't like watching this part because Robert actually broke Halle's arm on set while filming, and I'm like 90% positive that this is the scene. I don't know if it's the scene where it happened, but it's a little much, Tony. Penelope and Miranda have a really bad conversation together because, ooh, how they turn tables. It's hilarious she's even here. Tony tries to explain it away right away, saying, I'll talk to the court until your reassignment if you could stay here. They said it's cool. Like, just imagine. That was her place of employment. She knows everybody there. She knows everything there, including the victim, the boss of that establishment. Penelope has a clipping from the paper of the murder story and gives it to her. Why? Because it's dramatic. I like reading the paper. Here is the ghost portion of the movie. Miranda hears a ghost breathing outside of her cell, and the ghost spells not alone. We then get a shower scene where Halle has another ghostly vision and oh no. Oh, not the zoom in. She's attacked by the ghost girl who slices and dices her as the women run out in a panic. And the aftermath of that is really funny because the nurse that was watching over them says this.
I looked away for a second. It's unacceptable.
It's not your fault. Patients will always find a way to hurt themselves.
She cut herself 35 times, lost a lot of blood, but it's superficial.
What's the implement?
Probably a scalpel, though how anybody got it in there, I have no idea.
No further questions, Your Honor. Miranda begins to question Tony if they had an affair, or if he wanted to. He did, but says they never did anything. Where was I? All right. Halle Berry. Tony's acting kind of sus, so we gotta keep an eye out on this horny robot. Miranda meets up with her lawyer and he tells her the evidence in the case is overwhelming. They've got her prints on the murder weapon and the neighbors heard screams. The sheriff from earlier shows up. Remember that he's good friends with Doug, so he wants to speak to Miranda. She doesn't have to, but she says she has nothing to hide. He starts to attempt to recreate the crime, but breaks down and begs to know why she did it. How could she? He snaps and smacks evidence down on the table of Doug chopped up. She keeps shaking her head, insinuating that she didn't do that, but obviously no one's buying it, not even the sheriff. I mean, you would think out of all people that he would know Miranda's right. That's when the lawyer says,
Miranda, what's that?
And her arm begins to bleed over her bandaging. So she just rips it off, and the cuts spell out, not alone. And her first reaction, by the way, no one else really reacts to it except for shocked expression for the quick cut. Her first reaction is to look down at the table and move the top photo of evidence to uncover bloody writing on the wall that also reads, not alone. And then she looks up at everybody else and just kind of holds her arm out. Just in case you needed any more breadcrumbs, guys. Yeah, it's not looking good for me. Miranda starts to flashback to parts of what happened the night of Doug's murder. So when she awakes, she wants to go talk to another head therapist man. I still don't know this guy's name. She confesses that she was there the night of Doug's murder, but says so was something else. That's what the message "not alone" means. She starts ignoring whatever he's responding with because she spots a photo frame in the back with the girl she saw in the middle of the road. She tells him that, but then therapist man says, "There's no way. Because that's my daughter. She died 4 years ago." So death wasn't her. Where death it wasn't. Miranda wakes up again and starts talking to herself. And then propositions the ghost, if you are that daughter, if you're Rachel, then you will open the door. And the door opens. Miranda moves around, sees the ghost scamper off. Get out of here, you little trauma bug. And sneaks into Pete's office. He's got a photo of them together because he wanted to fuck her. And we see that Pete was researching Rachel, and the article says how she committed. She sees Rachel on the camera standing in the solitary hallway and immediately realizes it means Chloe. So she gently walks in and looks into Chloe's cell, sees her face smashed against the window, and she attempts to open the door. Then she sees the chest of a tattooed man walk towards the window, and she runs off, screaming for help. We get a phenomenal WWE takedown right here. Not sure if this is even Hallie, but this is good stuff.
We're trying to rely on his... Oh, what a close one!
Tony comes to talk to Miranda the next morning, and she immediately questions if Chloe was... And she brings up the tattoo she saw on the man that was in there. He also brings up the crumpled piece of paper that she printed from his PC, the article, and she tells him that Rachel did not kill herself because when she saw her, she was cut up, even though Tony says no, she was washed downstream and everyone declared it was a... Are we ever gonna play a fucking game? Outside at recess, Miranda apologizes to Chloe and begs her to tell her who did that to her. Chloe does not tell her and goes on with some rhetoric telling her he can have my body but not my soul, and then warns her that he said that she's next. Which, I can understand the first part. I don't see an issue with her not naming him here. But when he makes it clear that he will now move on to Miranda, and now someone else is in danger, I feel like that changes a few things. Because she gives her a hug, which means I guess she likes her now, which means she probably wants to help. I mean, I get that everyone thinks they're still crazy, so Chloe giving up the name here isn't going to guarantee that anything happens anyway. They need evidence. But this is something that the ghost should be doing. Being cryptic and indirectly guiding Miranda to gather the necessary evidence against this person so she can make the realizations on her own. Like, that's the movie. That's what the ghost does. But why the fuck is Chloe doing it? Is Rachel also talking to her? Because we don't know that. Miranda is once again in this cold booty butt cell as the lights flicker and Rachel appears and throws Miranda at the wall. And then she just throws her at shelves that break. And then she just starts beating the dog shit out of her. Ma'am? Are y'all not on the same team? Okay, let's humor the thought. She started beating the dog shit out of Miranda so they could get the guards' attention going into the room and then Miranda could escape. Which is what happens, but a bit of a gamble. Not to mention, this looks like it hurts. A lot. Also, you opened the other door just fine. Could you not open this one because it wasn't powered by electricity? Or is it because this escape attempt would literally not work if there wasn't a full-on escape frenzy to begin with? I don't know, I'm just asking questions. This is my favorite part here. These two bozos come search the pool area and Miranda's like, yeah, remember when I swam earlier? Check this shit out. And she proceeds to hold her breath. Look at this angle, by the way. Great job, guys. She proceeds to hold her breath during the search and they clear the room. And then she gets jump scared again by Rachel, which I don't know if this is in there to like supplement the horror element of this, or maybe that's her way of telling her that, hey, it's time to get moving. She scared the fuck out of her. But it's just all part of the escape plan. This is how she communicates. So Miranda crawls to get some keys, but that's when the lights flash back on. It's all over. But oh wait, big guy likes her, remember? You remember. So he covers for her and gives her the keys to his car. Miranda escapes and then turns the headlights off and guns it down the road. No, I mean, she's stepping on it. But where does she go? What does she do now? I just wish there was a way for there to be some sort of... Ah! Got it. So the brakes go out on the car. She narrowly avoids a Final Destination truck, spins out into construction, and brakes right before the sinkhole from earlier.
What do you want from me?
Wait, I thought you guys had been on the same page. You telling me you don't speak in cryptic blank stares? You telling me abrupt paranormal encounters aren't your preferred method of communication? So Miranda pulls up to her home and the lights turn on by themselves. Oh, I should go inside. She walks upstairs and has a vision of how she killed Doug. She sees the not alone blood, and then she sees herself chilling in a pool of blood. Then she looks in the mirror and morphs into Rachel, Chloe, and back again. She then takes some time, actually a lot of time, to reminisce and look at photos, I guess. Look, it's me and Doug at his farmhouse. It's also morning outside now. Hey, you guys remember when that patient had escaped that facility last night? Yeah, a patient who will soon be on trial for murder. A patient who escaped in a vehicle, in an employee's vehicle. I'm pretty sure they know that by now. If I were a cop, I feel like the first place I'd check is her house. Is she even wanted? Anywho, a drop of blood falls on the shed area of Doug's property, and this is the next sign. So she drives over and checks it out. She sees a hatch and checks it out. She sees a room with some plastic hanging and checks it out. And here is Doug's special little room with a cam, a bed with chains, tools, medicine. And Miranda checks out the camera, and it's Doug hurting a girl on the bed. It finally all hits her, and that's when she hears commotion upstairs. So she grabs a knife and walks out, and then gets snuck up on by this cop, who sees her holding a weapon, like at him, and tells her to drop it, but then he stops when he sees something behind her. There's a battered girl behind the staircase who starts begging for help, who was patiently waiting for the cops to make an entrance, I guess, which if we really want to like be annoying. Doug's been dead for a minute. If we assume that Doug left that woman there the night he was murdered, Miranda took like 3 days to wake up from her coma thing. And judging by the movie's mornings and nights, it's been like 3 days or so on top of that. So that girl's been down there almost a week with nothing but iodine and a defibrillator. Alright, this hatch doesn't have a lock, by the way. The town's in a frenzy with the discovery, and the sheriff's duking it out with the lawyer and Tony. Important therapist man goes to speak to Miranda and questions if Miranda thinks that his daughter was one of Doug's victims. Which, number one, why the fuck are you allowed to talk to her? What jurisdiction do you have? You are nobody important in this story. Number two, the bridge to this assumption that is true is a little clunky. We hear the sheriff discreetly say that the FBI says there could be more victims. But this guy doesn't know that right now. It wasn't told to him. And remember, earlier Tony had said the police, to the coroner, all deemed his daughter's death as. So how does this revelation about Doug change any of that? Because Miranda said she saw her before? You clearly think she's a nut and have already brushed her off. But now because she found a girl on her husband's property, which is not a crazy place to be after fleeing, she now has credibility, and you are having the reconsideration that Rachel was actually murdered by Doug. Anyway, Miranda instantly confirms and tells him that that's what not alone means. What it actually means. That Rachel was not Doug's only victim. Miranda is finally in a jail cell, but gets one call out to Tony trying to convince him that whoever is women at the prison is related to the murders. He doesn't buy it, but reluctantly starts to open up to her theory. And to show us that, he does some research on the tattoo she mentioned that she saw in Chloe's cell, even though I don't know what the fuck that's supposed to do, but Miranda wants to talk to the sheriff and tells him she knows what not alone means. What it actually means. It means that there are two killers. He gives her the time of day and he starts asking a bunch of questions, and I don't know if this was written in or if it's like the acting. Both. But he lets on almost immediately that he's the other killer, and then starts hammering it home and making it super obvious. Miranda takes a bit too long to pick up on it, but eventually does, and in the following scuffle, instead of fighting him off, she needs the triple down confirmation that he's the guy, even though he literally just admitted it in 12 different ways. So she opens his shirt to see the tattoo and then screams. But I don't know, it is a common tattoo.
Yes!
Aha! It is him. He threatens her with a needle, which should presumably paralyze her or something, because he says he's gonna have fun with her, as opposed to killing her, which is what he ultimately wants to do because she's making all of these discoveries and is eventually gonna out him. The lights flicker and she escapes while he's distracted. I guess this is a good time to bring up that I don't get the sheriff's plan. He's covered this all up for years. With ease, apparently. Doug has just been outed, there's no connection to the sheriff yet, and he tells Miranda that he didn't go clean up the crime scene of evidence afterwards because that's how you get caught. You panic. Better to let the dust settle. But when it comes to Miranda, he is desperate. to kill her, right? That's what he means by that? But he doesn't. I mean, she doesn't even know it's him at first. He has a jump. He can kill her. He can totally kill her. But he just plays this game to blow his cover instead of just banking on the public's doubt of this mental patient who's on trial for murder. Also, would Miranda really be priority here? They just found a girl who I'm assuming knows enough and could probably put you behind bars. I mean, I'm not saying I want to see her die, but it'd be nice if we had some sort of reason like why she can't speak, or we heard of some attempt he already did to try and silence her before he got here. Anyway, in this chase, he shoots a gas line on accident and hunts Miranda down with a shotgun. He starts to admit all his crimes while he stalks her, and that's when he sees Rachel on the other side of the glass. But Miranda's watching, so her face is reflecting right where Rachel's face is. Symbolism. So this doofus shoots the glass, and then he actually sees Rachel, and he decides to shoot again, and hey, gas! That should have probably blown up on the first shot. He lights on fire, and Miranda gets the last shot to his dome in that room that's filled with gas. No one else is in this police station, by the way. Must be a holiday. Hey, it's Tony! He's apologizing. Why? All we saw him do was search tattoos. Are you telling me that he figured this all out without talking to the sheriff? He doesn't know half the shit that Miranda does. And the sheriff still had to give her a nudge, wink, nudge for her to get it. So he's running up on Miranda, who has a gun and a dead sheriff on the ground, and he just gets it. As soon as I hit Google, cleared it up for me. I'm sorry, Miranda. We then see Miranda and Chloe on the outside, happy and healthy.
You really helped me. You helped me. You taught me how to listen.
Not really. I mean, you're right, you didn't listen to her, but Rachel forced you to listen. Chloe didn't do shit. Also, not to play the crime game, but like she did still murder her husband. I'm not advocating for her to still go to prison, but laws. Also, I love that we skipped over Miranda having to explain anything about that climax to anybody. It just worked out. Explosion at the police station, dead sheriff, armed murder suspect, only one left at the scene. Thank God Tony was there to talk to the cops about tattoos. The movie ends with Miranda seeing a child in the street who reaches out right before being ran over. But what is she, the trauma whisperer now? Gothika 2. Guess again? Overall, I don't hate this movie. I think it can be boring and convoluted, but Hallie tried. Hallie tried. I think that's the point of this movie. Hallie tried. She washes Robert Downey Jr. in this movie. She washes everybody. It's not even close. Also, I do want to say, I see a lot of people hold up the message behind the story in this movie. Voices being silenced, women facing abuse, women being written off, deemed crazy. Not alone can go for miles in that topic. I'm obviously not attacking that, I just have problems with the movie itself. Like, the movie Trauma is a perfect example of this. That movie was made to bring light to a very serious topic, but the movie has a lot of dumb shit in it, and is sexually gratuitous in a movie where terrible sexual shit occurs. Now, I don't think Gothika is disrespectful in that same vein, I just think there's a lot of silly writing in it. So if you like Gothika, cool. I just know that there's at least one thing that we can agree on, and that is that these little ass glasses do not fit Robert at all. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, it would really mean a lot. Subscribe, trying to hit 1 million in 2023. Here are my patrons behind me. They are great, extraordinary people, get exclusive content every month. Mista.gg, merch drop, second channel has content. I am tired, so please excuse my fatigue. And as always, I am Mr. Gigi, and I am out.